Okay, so I just got back home from watching a shit show of a game that is known as the San Jose Earthquakes. And if you guys don't know already, the Quakes got absolutely obliterated at home by Sporting KC. 5-1 is actually the final score of that game. And of course, we'll talk about that in the match review tomorrow or maybe on Monday, depending on if I'm busy tomorrow. But this video, of course, is going to be about the Colorado Rapids. And I'm pretty sure, Rapids fan, you've been waiting for this video to come out because you've been waiting for the time where you are officially going to be eliminated from MLS playoff contention, and that day has finally come tonight, and it actually just happened a couple of hours ago with Seattle winning against Vancouver and the Rapids losing to Atlanta means that Colorado is mathematically out of playoff contention. And as I said in the first video, whenever a team gets immediately eliminated, I of course will be making these kind of video and just kind of like the moving forward video and just summarize what the season of this team and what went wrong for this team and what went well and the looking forward. But so far at this point, the Rapids are 6-6-16. They have 24 points. The goal score they have is 31 goals, or not the goal score. It's the total goal score that they currently have, in the amount of goals that they score is 31, which is actually the same amount of goals that they have scored last season. Last season they scored 31 goals, which is by far the fewest in MLS, and actually they tie with DC United for the fewest in MLS. And this season with 31 goals, they are also once again the lowest goal scoring team in the league, and there is a chance that Colorado could be, for the second year in a row, end up to be the team that scores the least goal in MLS. And that's always been a problem for Colorado, in my opinion. I think for the last couple of years, even during the year when they went to the playoffs and finished second in the Western Conference, they did not really crack the 40 goal mark. In terms of goal alloweds this season, they have allowed 53, which is 2 more than they did last season, and the goal differential is at -22. And in terms of the goal scorer leader, now this is where I kind of had to think about this, because I know Don Boggi, right now I put him at first, and he has 7 goals, but here's the problem. Don Boggi does not play with the Rapids anymore. He plays for FC Dallas. He was part of the trade that brought Kellen Acosta to the Rapids in July. And I just think that, should I include a player that no longer plays for this team and that he has no tie and no connection with this team anymore? And after I thought about it a couple of minutes, I decided to put him in there, mainly because if you look at the next guy that is Don Boggi that scores 7 goals, the next guy is Echo Castillo, and he only have scored 3 goals this season. So right now, the current goal scoring leader for the Rapids is Edgar Castillo with only 3 goals. Yeah, you know your team is struggling to score goals when your top goal scorer only have 3 goals. And also, Tommy Smith, who also has 3 goals, both of these guys are defenders. You shouldn't be having defenders as your top goal scorer. I mean, if you have defender as your top goal scorer, unless you're probably maybe Sporting KC, which last season I think some of their defender were top goal scorer. I remember Iko Para decided to go on a defender's goal scoring rampage. You know that team does not score a lot of goals, and that team is not very good. And that's, of course, is the case with the Rapids. The next guy, of course, besides Tommy Smith and Echo Castillo scoring the goal, is Joe Mason with also 3 goals. And then Kellen Acosta scoring 2 goals, coming in from the Rapids a couple of months ago. And then, of course, the goal assist leader, again, Echo Castillo with 5 assists. You shouldn't be having a defender as your goal assist leader and also your top goal scoring leader. But then after that, you got Jack Price at 4, Johan Bloomberg at 3, Tommy Smith at 3, and Gashi at 2. So, with that being said, what went wrong for the Rapids this season? And I think in some way of me talking about how this team shouldn't be having their defender as top goal scorer and your defender as top goal assist leader, pretty much summarize the one thing that went wrong for the Rapids is that they just do not have a goal scorer. Like, they do not have anybody on this team that actually rely on goals. If I would have put like the whole list of the goal scorer for this Rapids team, it would be a very, very long list, because there is a lot of guys on this team that either only score 1 goal or they only score 2 goals. And, you know, with every MLS team, you usually have this one guy that usually gets you the goals, and usually the guy that you would depend on most in terms of scoring goals when you're not scoring goals. The Rapids, unfortunately, cannot rely on any one of them because, like I said, they don't have that true goal scorer. And I think that was also the problem last season. I mean, I think last season, Baji was probably the closest in terms of them potentially be a top goal scorer. But, you know, unfortunately, now Baji is no longer with this team. They just don't have any top goal scorer on this team whatsoever. And it also doesn't help when you put Joe Mason and Jack McBean as your striker. You know, usually when I talk about goal scorer, usually it's the striker that gives you the goal scoring department. But when you have Jack McBean and Joe Mason as your striker, yeah, that is definitely not a good recipe of scoring goals. But the other things besides the goal scoring problem, or the player that they cannot rely on scoring goals, is of course the goal scoring problems with them only scoring 31 goals. You know, like I said, it's the least amount of goals that any MLS team has scored right now. And the other thing that what went wrong for the Rapids, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people have mentioned this in the comment section in every highlights in MLS soccer, and that of course is Tim Howard is clearly washed up. Like, Tim Howard, I don't know why he is still a goalkeeper for the Rapids, and how in the world has he not retired. And I said this a couple of times too, the amount of time that Tim Howard had let in some very soft goal is something that you would definitely not see Tim Howard made a couple of years ago. He is just way past his prime, and probably even way past his twilight period too. And I just have a feeling that he needs to just kind of go and retire. And unfortunately for the Rapids, I think Tim Howard has his contract until 2019, I believe. So they could potentially have to keep Tim Howard for another year. And most likely they're going to, because besides Tim Howard, they don't really have any other good goalkeeper in their team right now. And the fact that Tim Howard is a DP on this team, I mean, that's another thing I don't understand about this team. How in the world do you make your goalkeeper, who is obviously awful right now and way past his prime, is your DP? That is just it just makes me kind of head scratch in many different ways. And you know, the other thing is they cannot score, and also they cannot defend, just like last season. You know, in fact, this season it has gone worse because they've now conceded 2 more goals than last season, and we're only into September. And the other thing is, it's pretty clear that Anthony Hudson is not the right man for this team. And, you know, who knew that bringing a manager that used to manage New Zealand national team would be a manager that you would think that can help you succeed in the future and help you guide in this rebuilding process. I mean, before this hiring, I actually don't even know who Anthony Hudson is. And when I look at his resume of how he was the former manager of the New Zealand national team, Yeah, that is not a very good credential of actually becoming a very good MLS manager. But either way, in terms of what went well, and actually one more thing of what went wrong for the Rapids this season is the transfer that they done. I mean, again, who knew bringing championship level kind of player and players from the English Championship was definitely not the way to go. I mean, guys like Joe Mason, Tommy Smith, and also Jack Price, all championship player, and all of them clearly flopped in this team. Like, all of them look nothing like they were when they were with their championship team. And yeah, I mean, that's another thing that went wrong for the Rapids this season, which is just the transfer that they have done and the guys that they have got this offseason clearly have not paid off. Now, what went well for the Rapids? Well, I think the only thing you can say that went well for the Rapids is that they did get Kellen Acosta, and I thought this was a very good deal for the Rapids considering the fact that, I think that he is going to be the guy that is going to be a key piece in that midfield. And really, this is probably one of the few times the Rapids does actually have a very kind of decent player in that midfield. I think besides Jermaine Jones that used to play for the Rapids, that is probably the best midfield piece that they ever had. And also, you can potentially get profit off of Acosta. Acosta have definitely revived his career with the Rapids and have definitely played a big part of what happened in August and how the Rapids was actually doing very well in August. And they could definitely earn a profit off of Acosta if they want to sell him. I mean, we all know that Acosta is not going to stay in Colorado. I will be very shocked if Acosta will be with this team in the next 2 years because he is just too talented to stay with this Rapids team. But in terms of looking forward, I think this is also part of it. They're potentially going to get profit off of Kellen Acosta, and I'm pretty sure that profit will really help this team in terms of rebuilding because they really need a long rebuild. They really need an overhaul. And like the Quakes, first of all, I think they probably need a new manager. I've been hearing that Rapids fan are started to be kind of doing what the Quakes are doing and bringing banners and saying Hudson out. And I don't blame them because, he clearly is almost at the same level as Starhay, which is technically an amp. And, they're going to have to do another overhaul. They have to, once again, look for different players that could potentially be difference maker for them. And they need a long rebuild. There is so much issue with this team. Pretty much everywhere on this team is a big problem. The goal scoring, the attacking force, the creativity on this team, the defending on this team, and also the goalkeeper issue on this team. They need to sort all of that out during this rebuild, and it's not going to just take 1 year. I think the Rapids, they are going to really struggle for these next couple of seasons, and as much as I know the fans, they want this team to get back to glory. I mean, it's hard to believe that this team actually won an MLS Cup just 8 years ago. Yeah, it's crazy how it's not even less than 10 years since they actually have won MLS Cup, and now look at the state of them. Everybody said that the Rapids are like kind of like the detention of MLS, and how when player goes to the Rapids, they basically does not do well whatsoever. So, hopefully the Rapids can prove those people wrong, and, if they get this rebuild right, then they can definitely get back to where they were a couple of years ago. And the Rapids used to be very, very good. They, like I said, they won the MLS Cup back in 2010, and then they had that good year in 2016. And, hopefully they will, of course, go back to that stage. And maybe you would say that they could maybe have to build up that defense again and maybe not worry about the goal scoring department. Because remember, back in 2016, that's what they did. They literally built up their defense. They made that defense really stingy, and it was the best defense in the league. Nobody could really touch that defense, and they finished second and went all the way into the semifinal and almost went to MLS Cup. So maybe that is the approach that they're going to try to do it again, but who knows? We don't know what this ownership is going to do, and what will the front office really address the first issue with this team. But if you're a Rapids fan, of course, let me know in the comments below what do you think of this, and just tell me if there's something that I miss about this team. Of course, I'm not a Rapids fan. I don't cover this team throughout this season, but I do have a good general kind of view of what exactly has gone wrong for the Rapids this season, and it's not hard to understand what went wrong for the Rapids this season. But either way, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash that subscribe button, and yeah, I will see you guys next time.